Purchase today.
The home of Caribbean content is growing, and we welcome you to be a part of the #1 platform for young personalities who are driven to make a positive impact in society. As we continue to reach every corner of Trinidad and Tobago through our daily broadcasts, our social media pages, or through our 75+ digital billboards across the nation, contact us to learn about our competitive rates via marketing at wesncc.com or call us at 628-5835. WESN Content Capital, television with a difference.
Our award-winning show is back, and this season promises to be even more exciting than before. What's Up, Doc isn't just a title. It's a call to action for anyone who wants to improve their health and well-being. Join us on this thrilling ride towards better health on WESN Content Capital.
WESN.
While we are ongoing situations of our own making, Mother Nature has decided to get in on the fun with regards to the Caribbean region. I use the word fun very sarcastically. Allow me to reintroduce myself. Sean Michael Small, this is Talking Point. And Mother Nature has decided to participate in increasing the stress level of the people in the region by now threatening one of our regional neighbors with what is now a Category 5 hurricane heading towards Jamaica, should be making landfall sometime today. This is not necessarily a story that I was following too closely. At the end of the day, there's only so much tragedy one could take. We hope, we pray for Jamaica, but interestingly enough, when the rubber meets the road, when times get tough, then you may get indicators of exactly what is prioritized, how it's prioritized. The how actually is potentially an even greater indicator. And in this case, I'm speaking about efforts to bring our TNT National students back to Trinidad, because the last thing you want is people who are relatively not independent from another country to be stuck in an area that may or may not be a disaster zone. We hope it is not. It all depends now on a lot of different factors. But better to extricate our people, because at the end of the day, our government is for our people, the Jamaican government is for their people. I would imagine things would be better off if those who can leave Jamaica, that they should not really be responsible for the Jamaican government, do leave Jamaica. Now, the trick is exactly how to make that happen. And I'm not entirely sure what the truth actually is, but based on what's reported, I can't say that I'm necessarily happy about it. The fact that I do wonder, maybe not so much that the government had bad intentions or was negligent. Maybe in this case, it exposed a lack of ability. This is not necessarily something that is normally within the purview of our politicians. And I'm not going to say that if the PNM was in power, they would have handled it better. I have literally no indication that that would be true. And, dare I say, history would suggest a similar type of response. Just given how, I don't know, we abandoned our nationals during a global pandemic. Those who are outside, yeah, you just stay outside. We don't really care about you. And it's not, yes, the situations are the same, but it speaks to crisis management. So, Minister of Foreign Affairs, he's denying claims by the students that flights are not readily made available. Now, from what I understand, the students are saying they got emails indicating these flights after the flights left, right? And I guess at this point now, there are no more flights coming out to Jamaica, obviously. So, a student representative who spoke on condition of anonymity out of fear of victimization. One of the things that we thought would have been over with a new government, but I guess we were wrong for that one. But let's not get sidetracked with one area of disappointment when we have the main potential area of disappointment. Potential. The student representative said many students received the emails notifying them of the rescue flights late. A 6:39 p.m. email from the Ministry of Tertiary Education and Skills Training on October 24th informed them of 2 flights. However, they said they left hours prior, around 11 a.m. Additionally said, while the ministry said students would be prioritized, many could not afford the flights. And I do believe there is at least one report in the Express. This is where the Minister of Foreign Affairs is saying, that's not true. The emails highlighted discounted prices was on 8:33 p.m. and 9:15 p.m., I believe the day before, right? Because the students are saying they got the emails in the evening of October 24th, and the minister is saying, no, we sent those out in the evening of October 23rd for flights that happened on the 24th. Now, here's my thing, because one of the issues is the students, not all of them thought they could get on the flights because apparently they were too prioritized. That does not mean free. So if you can't afford it, are you stuck here? That's one of the complaints. Rich and wealthy students could go home. What about those who are figuring their tertiary education out on a budget? Right? Now, here's the thing. The minister is trying to define the situation. Here's one indicator that maybe he should have taken a less defensive approach and try to clarify the situation. And even if he is technically right, I would argue, it does not really serve him any great deal of well, it doesn't do him much good to basically say, don't blame us, blame the students. Blame the students if they get stuck there for a hurricane. Do that. I mean, optically, how do you think that would look? Regardless of if it's the truth or not. To just throw that out there right now, no context, no explanation, you're going to look bad. People are not going to necessarily try to discern the truth from the information. You're just going to look bad. Now, he said, out of the 268 students, 72 students responded, 13 responded no, 72 responded yes, 183 did not respond. Here's the catch. Think about it. If the majority did not respond, why do you think, why is your first assumption that they saw the email and they didn't respond? Why can't you consider they never saw the email? It could be because they didn't even know to check, or didn't think to check, or the email, for whatever reason. Stop me if you've heard this one before. You sent an email, the other party didn't receive it. Whatever glitch, technical issue, internet connectivity, whatever. You sent an email, the other party didn't receive it. You had to resend it again. Oh well, no muss, no fuss. I mean, sometimes you get the email address wrong. It could be by a single letter or a digit or what have you. Sometimes it just doesn't go through. That's happened to me once or twice. Now but I don't send 268 emails out at a time. So you don't get a response, you automatically assume we didn't get a response because it's a them problem. Here's why I say this is a government problem. Who arranges evacuation, and it seems like last-minute evacuation flights via email? That's rarely, if you're trying to do something timely, that is critical, that could be the difference between human safety and human injury, between life and death. You're going to do it via a mass email. That's obviously, in the history of mankind, a mass email is the greatest, most surefire, foolproof, can't miss, impossible to not get the word to the intended recipient means of communication. Nothing has ever gone wrong with an email. That's why we don't use phones anymore, because we have emails. When's the last time you saw young people, you make a phone call? Nah, he emails. WhatsApp? No. Email. When we need to dial the emergency number, that's not necessary. Forget 999. Email the TTPS. Because when things are required to happen in a timely manner, where you don't want to leave any stone unturned, where you want to ensure that you reach everybody as quickly as possible, and you want to ensure as much communication to try to sort out everybody as efficiently as possible, so that you can ensure you don't leave anybody behind, let's just do it by mass email. Or maybe it was mass email. Maybe you had someone send out 268 individual emails regardless. That's the mode of communication. Now, I don't know. I have not heard that they made calls. I have not heard that they tried to contact any student representatives, any representatives of the institutions. I have not heard that they maybe sent someone to manage the crisis and the evacuation in Jamaica. You know, you have flights, you send flights, you send somebody on the flight. Huh? Things like this don't make me feel warm and fuzzy as though we're prepared if it happened here. Now, I get it. It's difficult because it's all the way in Jamaica. We don't necessarily have sure lines of communication to everybody. Some people might slip through the cracks, but over half slipping through the cracks, maybe that's not a them problem. Maybe that's a you problem. Right? Oh, and let's not forget, it's not our fault. We tried to evacuate them. And then he admits, given that there were few responses for people to be on the flights, maybe it might not be in the best interest to send planes out for free just like that. Because, you know, we need to still think about the dollars and cents of a rescue mission. The rescue mission needs to be economical. Or maybe, I don't know, if you know there are 268 people there, you could do a couple of things, right? You could get a local to try to organize directly, in person, or at least have a team of staffers start making phone calls with someone to organize everything and compile a list of responses, then compile the people that you can't reach, and maybe then go to the Jamaicans and say, hey, can you check out A, B, C, and D? These people, we can't get hold of them. Maybe if you actually committed some amount of effort into the idea, you would do more than just say, well, we sent some emails, we didn't get responses, so then we might need to rethink the economics of sending the planes there. Because heavens forbid, we forget that this is supposed to be, at least that's how it's framed, not so, an extraction, basically a rescue mission, although it might not be that dramatic, but still, this is not just a way to get another leg from Jamaica, Trinidad to earn some extra revenue. This is not a holiday thing where, oh gosh, we were oversubscribed on this weekend, so we need to add an extra flight, with people going over there for some kind of fete weekend. Is this the level of professionalism? Is this the commitment to performance? Because I don't see it. What's next? We're going to get heavy rains here when the next hurricane for the season passes close to us, and then we'll basically have a situation where we'll be told, oh, well, because people didn't respond to the email, we didn't necessarily try to do any rescue efforts for people's homes in the flood-prone areas that flooded out. We didn't know if it was economical to send the boats. We didn't know if it was economical to open up the hospitals for extra triage because it wasn't subscribed to. It's an emergency situation. Why are you acting as though you're a telemarketer trying to find out if people want to get a new subscription for their internet provider? We have a new deal. Sign up now, 6 months free. What is this? Now, again, there could be more details that I don't know. But the students believe they got screwed. I just think the government in this situation was incompetent, one, then open them out to speak either before or after complaints are made. Well, they open them out to speak definitely after, but maybe before. And then, that's two. And then three, even if they handle the situation very well, some of the things you're saying, I can't jive with it. When UNC wins, everybody wins. Unless you're stuck in Jamaica for a hurricane, in which case, we'll have to consider the dollars and cents. Right? I don't know, what is it that you think it's mostly PNM people over there? Because why is it that the situation with a hurricane evacuation sounds and feels similar to budget allocations? And if people don't like that comparison, A, the timing is not my fault, the optics is not my fault. If you're not aware of the timing and the optics of what's going on, that's a you problem. You're a politician in high office. If you're incapable of understanding the implications of how you conduct mass communications, do yourself a favor. Shut up and quit the job. Because you're not ready. You're not capable. How they treat the least of us is an indicator of how they will eventually treat all of us. Don't forget that. And again, I don't think this was done out of malice. But things like this, you don't get prizes for second place. You don't get prizes for incomplete. This is not that kind of thing. You can't be late to deliver on the contract, to deliver on the promise with things like this. This is one of those critical things. If you can't keep up, get out of the kitchen. Now, there's more to it than that. I have more to say about it. We'll see what happens, right? Utterly ridiculous. For two flights, we could blow a set of money on a set of crap. Wait, somebody remind me, how much helicopter flights the Prime Minister took the last go around? It's a real good thing she ain't taking any helicopter flights this time. Just saying. Meanwhile, we'll get into this in a little bit. Ganja prices climbing high as U.S. blows up the drug boats. This is to be expected. And again, brace yourself. We may see higher levels of other violent crime outside of drug smuggling and all of the violence that comes with that, fighting for turf on drug blocks and the like. We may see home invasions, robbery, grand theft auto and the like, breaking and entering of businesses, etc., etc. We may see more of that. Granted, from what I've been told, the current generations of criminals are nowhere near as skilled or professional as their predecessors, which is why that might lead to not necessarily more breaking-ins, but violent robberies. Government is going to decide on an SOA extension soon. I hate to say this, but we might need it. From my point of view, we have legislative deficiencies. The SOE is making up for some of it. If the SOE ends, we might not be prepared with trying to deal with crime in our normal legal criminal justice setup, framework, procedures, regulations, etc. It's not necessarily a good sign that we have to do it. It's not all the government's fault, to be fair. But I am yet to hear anything to even say they have an agenda after the budget, after whatever comes after the budget, after whatever comes after the budget. I've yet to hear any sort of practical agenda to say we're going to go in and we're going to start to deal with the deficiencies in the criminal justice system from a legislative point of view. Nothing about that. All I hear is, hey, you all sort out yourselves. Not too dissimilar to the students in Jamaica. Hey, you all buy your plane tickets and rescue yourselves. We just put it on the flights, but you know, it's up to you to get all the information and details of the emergency flights. Hey, stand your ground, empty the matic, get a gun. Don't expect us to do it for you. This is a self-service government, apparently, right? I mean, let me close with this. The CJ situation, it's not about the individual who was appointed. It was the how. You do it in what seems like less than a day, the consultation. And then you get the acting president to appoint him. In what world do you think this looks good optically? In what world do you think you're not going to get criticized for it? Especially when you are trying to utilize your political capital on something else. Why are you committing unforced communication errors over things that you absolutely did not have to make? You didn't have to choose a Chief Justice quite in that manner. You didn't. So then why did you? I don't know. It just looks suspicious. The Law Association, as I said, the Law Association criticized the previous administration. I am not about to assume that they somehow have a magical bias against you. So, let's take a break. When we come back, we'll see if our media ambassador is here. Of course, there's a lot to say about the whole, well, somewhat a lot to say about the current U.S., Venezuela, Caribbean, Trinidad and Tobago tension. We'll see if we could have time to get into that. Otherwise, we'll hit it tomorrow. Stay tuned. This is talking about WESND Content Capital. Pray for our people in Jamaica, not just the Trinbagonians, but all the Jamaicans. They're all our people. We'll be right back after this.
If these walls could talk, they'd cry uncle. They didn't plan to become offices or yoga studios. But they've stood by us, even when we got a little stir-crazy. For that, they deserve some thanks. They deserve Benjamin Moore.
Take some time for yourself or spend some time with the family at Sandy Point Village Hotel. Enjoy our various studio and suite apartments, self-contained with their own kitchenettes and Wi-Fi. We also have our famous 100-foot swimming pool and our beachfront restaurant, the Steak and Lobster Grill. And our location in Crown Point puts us near the center of activity from the nylon pool to the local nightlife. Call us and make your reservations at 639-8533, 389-2378 or email us at sandypointvillagehotel@gmail.com.
I am Dr. Delphina Ovid, your friendly neighborhood dentist. At Community Hospital Dental Clinic, we offer examinations which include x-rays, basic oral cancer screening, and a treatment plan. We also offer cleanings, fillings, extractions, root canal treatment, and complete and partial dentures. Remember, you don't have to brush and floss all your teeth, just the ones you want to keep.
Give us a call at 235-5479.
The Community Hospital of Seventh-day Adventist,
where good private health care is affordable.
Struggling with heart health or frequent migraines? Discover the simple steps to reclaim your energy and vitality.
We're diving into a topic that affects about 422 million people around the world. Diabetes.
Tune into Wellness Unlocked, the series that delivers expert advice, practical tips, and inspiring stories to help you take control of your health and well-being. Your health matters. Don't miss Wellness Unlocked. Watch now on WESN and take the first step toward better health.
We're back here and talking about WSND Connect Capital. The media ambassador for ETDPS is running late, so while we wait on him, I will just start to touch on what I guess might be one of the topics that has people's concerns heightened. The stress levels here in TNT. We don't have to necessarily worry directly about the hurricane, but unlike most of the rest of the Caribbean, some people can't help but worry because we're the closest island to the whole situation with the US and Venezuela. How close? Well, obviously, most of you will know that the USS Gravely, one of the Arleigh Burke-class destroyers, has basically docked in the port of Spain. I actually saw it at a distance yesterday. Might have been the first time I've seen a US warship or any sort of military asset like that in person. Now, it's here for exercises. I find that interesting. They say members of the MEU will be aboard the destroyer. That usually is not the case. A destroyer doesn't have a lot of excess room for personnel, especially like land personnel and their equipment, right? So to what extent are they conducting exercises? Now, I believe the Minister of Defense, Wayne Stage, he did point out that this was something in the talks, exercises with the US Navy and I assume the Marine Corps, exercises, more importantly, with a naval asset like a destroyer. After the trade winds exercises happened and there was maybe concern about naval integration, naval assets, naval procedures, how our Coast Guard will work, etc., etc. So, I mean, I get that. There's certain things that the United States and the United States destroyer crew could potentially help out. Because at the end of the day, we need to understand that institutional knowledge is never going to be enough. And we don't necessarily have a Coast Guard that is that active to say that they're well trained up and proficient in all aspects of maritime defense. So I get that. A destroyer comes in, you have a naval surface ship to share information, trade stories, give tips to our Coast Guard. I just don't know how anybody of the 22 MEU, outside of maybe a hand-picked few officers and soldiers, would be on a destroyer, right? Now, granted, there's a helipad on this destroyer. The MEU is on an amphibious ready group, of which the main asset is a landing helicopter dock, LHD. It has helicopter transports to transport the elements of the MEU, usually onshore, but it could also be to a ship if they don't want to land on Trinidadian soil for whatever reason. Or the helicopters might just come direct, go to whatever camp, conduct whatever exercises. Again, it could be conference room stuff that they're doing. They only need a few speakers, might not have any field exercises. I think, I may have said this last week or not, I believe there's a lot of reconnaissance going on by the Americans with regards to us right now. Because at the end of the day, make no mistake, it doesn't matter if you're friends, if you're allies, if you're brothers. Every country has an intelligence desk or an intelligence book on every other country. Every country with an intelligence service. Now, I don't know about the Caribbean, but hey, Americans don't just spy on the Russians, they don't just spy on the Chinese. They'll spy on the British, they'll spy on the French, they'll spy on the Japanese. And you know what? Those people will spy on the Americans back. Because everybody wants to know what everybody else is doing. And sometimes you even go so far as to let certain people know certain things unofficially, just so that there's less uncertainty. Now, for the Americans, we're TNT, the country, the island nation right next to Venezuela. If there was a war, we have ports. We have ports and safe harbors which might be necessary with regards to reloading naval assets. This is something that the United States Navy has become more aware of with regards to operations in the Pacific. Because if anything happened in Taiwan, they have limited ports. Outside of the ports that are literally directly in Taiwan, if Taiwan got attacked and those ports are unavailable, reloading in any conflict there is going to be very, very tricky because it requires essentially a whole crane operation, calm seas, etc., etc. This is one of the consequences of progress. The whole modern way how a naval ship carries missiles and other weapons in vertical launch tubes, you can't just have two guys tote it on the ship and put it in a magazine room anymore. It has to literally be installed into the ship ready to fire as is. That needs a significant crane and a whole host of other things to consider. But you could do it at a port. We have a port. Don't know if it's the most convenient port, but we have a port. We have ports right next to Venezuela. Then there's also the whole, perhaps, I may have said this last week as well, they have joint training exercises with our Coast Guard and our Defense Force, because that's what it said. I think it's our Defense Force, it's various arms of our Defense Force, not just the regiment and the Coast Guard, but also special forces and support personnel, logistical personnel, I believe. And perhaps they want to get a feel of what we could do, but also of where our head is at. What does our military say about this whole thing? Our personnel, unofficially. Forget what Kamala Persad-Bissessar says. What the people of Trinidad say. And by having people on the ground to maybe hear a few things, they're all going to probably get debriefed. Every single sailor and Marine that interacts with our personnel will probably be debriefed, regardless of if there's a regime change situation or not. And this is where I find it interesting, because on one hand, I understand the narrative. I understand what David Abdullah says. There's a history here. And you, more importantly, forget the history of America in the region. There's a Donald Trump history here. And he seems very gung-ho about this. Now again, he also seems to be very, very, very nervous about American casualties. So I'm not entirely sure exactly what he's going to do and how it's going to unfold. But this whole situation of having an exercise causing tensions to escalate. Here's the trick. You know how many times America has exercised with Taiwan and tensions escalate? Like, I get it. I understand. We want to blame the Americans and not believe them. But literally, we cannot just run wild with the narratives. I'm not saying that the exercises can't be a precursor to some sort of operation against Venezuela. I'm just saying it's not automatically the case. It's not like we've never seen joint military exercises in a country bordering another country where tensions are high. Stick a pin in that. I'll get into the actual comments of the Venezuelan Vice President and Minister of Defense tomorrow, or maybe later today, depending on how the phone call goes. But we do have the media ambassador here with us. So we'll take a break. When we come back, we welcome him. Let's hear what the police have to say, folks. Let's not take it for granted. I know all of these pie-in-the-sky topics are more interesting, but we have yet to necessarily have any sort of local injuries, on local soil, from that critical situation. As critical as it is, we don't have to worry about our own domestic situation, maybe a little bit more. Stay tuned, more on that after this.
Knowing how to tell authentic is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Find it, match it, search it. Step 1. Find the style number on the tag. Step 2. Match the style number inside the jersey with the number on the tag. Step 3. Search it. A quick Google search of the style number will verify the jersey is authentic when the search results match the jersey being searched. Don't be fooled by counterfeit jerseys. Before you buy, remember to find it, match it, search it.
Fan Zone, 2 locations nationwide. Center City Mall, Chaguanas and Movietown, Port of Spain. Nationwide delivery available.
If these walls could talk, they'd cry uncle. They didn't plan to become offices or yoga studios. But they've stood by us, even when we got a little stir-crazy. For that, they deserve some thanks. They deserve Benjamin Moore.
Low energy? Heart concerns? Migraines slowing you down? It's time to take control of your health. Join Wellness Unlocked, the series that brings expert advice and real solutions for a healthier you. In our latest episode, learn how Jameson CoQ10 can help support heart health, boost energy, and even reduce migraines. Get the science, the stories, and the steps to power up your health with CoQ10. Don't miss Wellness Unlocked. Watch now on WESN and start your wellness journey today.
This is 10 Questions. I'm Andy Johnson. The distance from where we should be in the world in going forward on our commitments with climate change.
The effects of climate change that cannot be accounted for. It's called loss and damage, and we're seeing loss and damage happening so much more in this decade and the previous decade.
The principal term there was this question of the correspondent banking issues.
That is why we're trying to build capacity with this country here, Trinidad and Tobago, and other countries in the region. Man is not showing any signs of stopping or even slowing down. More than half of the forest in Trinidad is already gone.
All the plants and all the animals and all of the nice clean water and fresh air and everything had to be on this planet for humanity to have a chance.
We have small change when it comes to countries that can take decisions, and when they speak, the world listens.
The General Assembly is a very democratic forum. And Trinidad and Tobago has the same vote as Canada, in spite of the obvious difference in size.
Remember waking up early just to catch your favorite cartoons? WESN brings back those magical mornings with Retro Saturdays.
Thus, the Powerpuff Girls were born!
Where the young at heart relive the fun. Join us every Saturday from 8 a.m. to 12 noon, only on WESN, the content capital.
You are watching Strictly Legal on WESN Content Capital. Just give an overview of what exactly is that split arrangement.
Now you don't need to register nothing. You don't need. We can do that another time. But then it becomes a hit, and then everybody starts to want to claim.
The laws that predate many of the independent countries' constitutions are going to be those colonial laws.
We know there are an infinite amount of circumstances that would lead to a murder.
I have a great idea and I have a great concept, but until it's actually expressed, it does not become intellectual property.
Accomplishments or targets of a forensic accountant is to quantify what may have been lost.
We believe we defend criminals and we manipulated the law and we exploited the system.
A responsible journalist will reach out to the person who they have the information on for a comment.
I want to get a tattoo.
You really
respond
wanna,
to me. Respond to me how you would respond to me.
The first question I'd ask is why?
Controversial taboo topics.
We get so consumed by church, we forget that we have to live the life of being a Christian outside of the Sunday.
Like you say,
services.
we think going to a service makes us a Christian.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. So here we are about to hear the second time Pastor J wanted to take a tattoo.
Would have been late last year and early this year.
Oh gosh.
Hope Unfiltered podcast with Pastor J and Ren.
This is Face of Sports, WESN Content Capital. How you felt about the kiss on the lip?
That's the business. I'm not to do with that.
I find that was distasteful.
The national senior team, whether you like it or not, that is the model for all other teams to follow.
I'm assuming that the regional requirement may be a much stricter requirement.
This is not about Pro League and Super League. This is a league run by the Normalization Committee that I'm responsible for.
Nobody expected FIFA to fund this arrangement.
If we don't get a professional attitude towards this, we are doomed for failure.
You break the balance, trip the leg, control the body.
They ain't gonna stand put forever.
Why you want the Chiefs to lose so? Why you want the Chiefs to lose so?
They already have two. Lamar don't
Why?
have.
You're jealous because you know the Chiefs getting closer to the Patriots. Let's go to the last part.
No,
Let's go to the last part.
Take some time for yourself or spend some time with the family at Sandy Point Village Hotel. Enjoy our various studio and suite apartments, self-contained with their own kitchenettes and Wi-Fi. We also have our famous 100-foot swimming pool and our beachfront restaurant, The Steak and Lobster Grill. And our location in Crown Point puts us near the center of activity from the nylon pool to the local nightlife. Call us and make your reservations at 639-8533, 389-2378 or email us at sandypointvillagehotel@gmail.com.
And I know I said that we might need to focus more inwards and not necessarily speak too much about what's happening across the pond, so to speak. But joining me to speak about, at least indirectly, what's going on across the pond, we have TTPS Media Ambassador Christopher Arun, ASP Christopher Arun. Good morning.
Good day, Sean. Thanks for having me. Good day to your members of the public and your viewing audience and to your colleagues. It's not necessarily about the across the pond.
That's why I said indirectly.
It's basically, the Commissioner wants people to understand the situation at hand and to avoid panicking, especially with information or misinformation circulating in the media and take it with a pinch of salt, so to say.
Well, I mean, we regularly have, in my opinion, limited and at times false information or misleading information, or maybe unintentionally so, wild speculation when it comes to a lot of our local discourse, right? So, I mean, there's a part of me that wonders, is it enough to tell people, be careful that the crazy person you're listening to, don't listen to them on this? I'm just saying.
Right, so what he's saying, use trusted sources of medium to take your information from, like WSN.
Not to 2001.
News medias, the newspapers, the trusted sources. There seems to be a lot of misinformation out there, and not just about what's going on in the environment, but across the board, in terms of even crime alerts and whatnot. Make sure it's correct information you're getting, and you could trust like the TTPS website, the app, the social media app and whatnot from TTPS to get the information. There's a hurricane going on right now, affecting Jamaica. And in similar sense, if something like that would happen to Trinidad, you'd want to get that information from a trusted source, exactly what's going on. So we're seeing persons panicking, we're seeing people looking at misinformation and taking it in and believing anything, and it's causing some havoc. So we're asking persons to avoid using to take in that type of information and use the trusted sources out there, especially in the news medium.
Because that's the thing, at a time when tensions are heightened and people are scared, they might be more willing. It doesn't have to be something about Venezuela. It could be something that they might think is connected to what's going on between US and Venezuela. And it could be, oh my gosh, the 16 Venezuelans ended up on a shore and they're killing people, and why? And basically start to spread wild rumors, right? So that potentially either what actually going on is something completely different, or there's no basis in fact whatsoever. And I guess part of it is, don't allow the whole situation to just get out of control in your own head, right? Because there can potentially be certain things like, yes, the criminal element is being impacted by what's going on, and they might make a change, they might start to do something differently. And when it's hard enough for the TTPS to get their message out there, because I think just today there was a case in point, because I always like to highlight this and I forgot to do it, but thankfully the topic brought me back here. Facebook scams.
Right.
You all talk about it a lot and people don't hear about it. So the last thing we need is now, when there's an emergency, that some wild speculation is kind of overriding what you all are trying to say.
Also, we're observing, there's a slight increase in the murder rate for the month of October, especially.
This is from what, 2 weeks ago, last week, something like that?
For the month.
For the whole month?
Yeah.
It's for the whole month, okay.
And we're saying that, well, it seems that there was a slight increase. We're asking persons to continue with their heightened level of alert. Be as careful as possible out there. Take all precautionary measures to safeguard yourself, your family, your home, your property, and whatnot, especially as we proceed into the Christmas, then Carnival season. Right? I'm not too sure what's going to happen with the SOE. If we're going to, it's going to continue. It's going to come to an end. I'm not too sure. We should find out that by Friday, I guess.
Yeah, that's up to the politicians, really.
Correct.
But
nonetheless, the TTPS is still going to be functioning, SOE or not. We're going to be functioning at 100% and pushing our anti-crime initiatives.
Now, one of the things that when you have a situation like this, we're not accustomed to it, right? At least not directly. But depending on how bad things get, the local population might find a way to respond negatively. Is there any concerns that, depending on what Venezuela might do or what America might do, you might have some local people that either, we don't trust these Venezuelans, right? So, let's round them up and imprison them, police, right? Or people might start to look at Americans funny and start to maybe send hateful messages more their way.
Right. Well, you see, yeah, we saw recently there was a protest in front of the embassy, the U.S. embassy. I think it was over the weekend, if I'm not mistaken, or Friday. And, you know, there are going to be anti-war-like sentiments, and there are going to be peaceful protests. Continue with your peaceful protests. And, you know, the scenario painted where you might want to round up some Venezuela, yeah. We also have to understand. Yeah. We also have to understand these people are coming from a country that is run, as they say, by a dictatorship. They say, according to the information at hand, you have a legitimate government. You have a president that has a reward on his head. You have people being victimized in their own country, and they've come here seeking sanctuary. So with all of that being said, we need to treat them as humanly as possible and provide whatever we can to assist them to overcome these issues. I don't think Trinidad seems to be very tolerant. Persons in Trinidad seem to be very tolerant. And they should continue to be as tolerant as possible.
My only thing is that because of the political dimension of it, and we get sucked into American politics in this country very quickly and easily, right? And it works both ways. You have support and an anti-sentiment. As you say, there was a protest. But it's one thing to protest the embassy. You're protesting the institution that represents the foreign government. It's another thing to let your displeasure be known on a personal level to some random American tourist, or even if it's an embassy worker, unless that embassy worker has a direct line to Trump, pretty sure they're not responsible for anything that's happening and decisions being made. And heavens forbid, because you kind of see this in the States more, because you know some people want to be aggressive with the police. Not just, it's a routine traffic stop, why you stop me? It's like, see police, just be mad. Right? If there's American servicemen, right, just walking around near the port, maybe you should not decide to, hey, just be mad at them for no reason, because it's a heightened level of security situation. You don't want to put yourself in any sort of suspicion of being an aggressor for anything.
And in Trinidad, all our freedom of speech is very limited in what we can express. We have to be very careful not to issue threats to anybody, how we speak to people, not with vulgar language, obscene, insulting, and there are different types of languages that can be used. You can peacefully protest, right? And, you know, stay within the limits of the law. But once you take on the police and you cause an obstruction, you attack the police, you assault anybody, you will be arrested.
Is there anything saying, this is another thing, trying to tell people not to panic. Well, I almost have the expectation of people are going to maybe start to ignore certain things. They're going to be so caught up in, oh my God, Venezuela, and yes, and war, regime change. There's a boat right outside Port of Spain, and what if they fire a missile? And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, we're not going to prioritize domestic stuff anymore. And as you say, the murder rate, we've seen it tick up. Hopefully it's a blip.
Maybe,
History says it's not gonna be a blip. History says it most likely will be potentially a sign of something else. But then also, cost of weed is going up. Other criminal activity might potentially go up if the supply gets totally cut. Right? So now is the time where people, maybe you should really think about looking out for yourself as opposed to thinking, what am I gonna do if a war that we're technically not part of and have no control over starts in a neighboring country, yes, but it's not like, you know, there's a land border and we could straddle it as individuals. It is across the sea
I think research is needed by individuals in society to really look into the matter. I have done my research and I'm coming up with a totally different scenario altogether with respect to these issues or what is in the public domain. And I think if people rest assured, do their own research, and take in stride exactly the information they're getting, they will understand that it's not as badly off as it seems to be. It's not that case. It's not the case where it's an all-out war as opposed to a proxy war and whatnot. You're going to, if you do some research, you're going to see it's not as terrible as it seems.
At least not yet.
Not yet. So let's take in stride. I'm not seeing any reason to panic.
But can this be an indicator? Because I guess it's one thing, it's easy to tell people, hey, read more and think more effectively.
Yeah.
But if it was that easy to just do those step 1, read more, step 2, have better judgment, then probably there'll be at least a few less problems in our society than what we have currently.
And there's nothing there to say that it won't happen. It could happen. There's a possibility it could happen. But it's how we are prepared for it. So I think with all the research and all the reading and all the information you want to take in, I think the best step right now is to be prepared for maybe the worst case scenario.
I mean, not just because of what's going on. Who knows, the hurricane season might come straight at us, before it's over this year. If not this year, next year. We always say God is a Trinity. And I think maybe it's easy to tell people, don't panic. But I guess the flip side is you have to kind of be realistic. Don't panic doesn't mean, well, just ignore it.
No.
And everything will be fine.
No.
God's a Trinity, it'll work itself out. We never have to worry about disasters and emergencies here.
Yeah. As I say, let's prepare ourselves. Let's be alert. The main issue really is to be alert.
Yeah.
And look out for suspicious activity, suspicious persons, and please report it to the police.
Right, yeah. Don't let the crime reporting kind of lapse because you're so caught up just watching your phone and your TV, and then you hear your neighbor ball someone invading their home. But, I don't have time for that right now because, America might invade Venezuela. And I'll just say this, talking about that research, I'll go back to the point I made from the very beginning. Unless they mobilize more troops, they're probably not going to invade. That doesn't mean that they can't try to do something in Venezuela. But what we're really worried about is some large-scale war that will have a direct spillover effect on us. At least that's the first worry, right? Don't really have to worry about that if they don't have the assets positioned to do that. All right, we have Digger Martin on the line. We'll take the call. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Hello, good morning.
Morning.
Good morning to you, Sean, and the ASP. Good morning.
Good day. How are you doing?
I'm listening attentively to you when you said, in this state of emergency, we have to be very careful with our utterances. Now, we have had, within the last couple of days, the utterances of some activists. The one in particular, who said the commander-in-chief and the president bolted, meaning that he left this country, and the prime minister and the AG. If that is not public mischief, I don't know what it is, and I'm hoping that the TTPS take a look at that.
Who bolted?
The immediate one
I think it was
is
the president or the
yesterday or the day before, circulated all over the place where there are some activists going on Facebook, identifying the prime minister's resident, have it locked in with that little target crosshair, giving some coordinates, and appeared to be chatting with DLC and Maduro. If that is not treating us, and that is not a threat, I don't know what is. And I'm hoping that the PPS be very, very strict on those things. The second issue is, I see you're smiling, the second issue is, we have come back a full circle to Akil Chambers. I am sure that you are hearing on the social media, a senator has identified a former PNM minister as the perpetrator of that crime. That is a cold case that you have additional information. Now, for that to happen, you have to have people who conspired to commit that, to move and throw and body all over the place. So the cold case comes in now. The Sabga report, Mr. Sabga is still alive. He's in Canada. The Judah Jones report, there were a lot of things in that. That has to be fleshed out.
Yeah.
I am not calling for a commission of inquiry for that, but it is very, very serious. You could actually probably crack open, because one of the main witnesses in the coroner case, go back to see, was a young boy, a relationship to the former prime minister. This is the time for the TTPS to show what they really are. So that is two things. The third is, Sean, this is one for you. The university students, are they really brilliant students? Do they understand what is involved? 4 or 5 years ago, a tourism minister in the PNM government said, do your tertiary education in Trinidad. We don't have no foreign exchange. I'm hearing a lot of students say they have no foreign exchange to pay $1,000 per ticket. And that's why I say they are brilliant students, if they understood that before they make the decision. I would like a full investigation to find out what courses they are doing in Jamaica that they could not do in Trinidad. Or is that another, you remember they used to say, a Yule Williams scholarship program? That is what we have to do. Because if a minister tells you we have no foreign exchange, choose where you're doing your tertiary education properly. If you can't do it, it's okay. But if you could do it in Trinidad, stay in Trinidad, we have lots of ways to do. I'll go and have a nice morning. That's only 3.
Thank you, caller. That last one, it's not quite so simple, but I do hear you. Now, I don't know if the savings in foreign exchange will be significant. But the flip side is you allow a lot of insignificant things, you know, go by. All of a sudden, the total bill is going to end up something significant, right? So it does, yes, because foreign exchange is not even about gates anymore. It's also about, you know, just the source of foreign exchange for the family to pay for the education. Should it be investigated? I think that is kind of along the lines of when GATE was a wild west and we didn't really plan for things, and this could be an extension of that. We are facilitating people getting an education, potentially in this case via foreign exchange. I'm not saying that it shouldn't have students going to foreign universities. I am saying we should plan it out, maybe, so that we could ensure it's not some willy-nilly stuff going on. More to say, but because there was the first point you were making, I think, is very pertinent to some of the TTPS's concerns this morning. But we'll take the caller from Shogunas. Good morning, caller, you're on air. Caller, good morning.
Yes, Sean, morning.
Morning.
I am hearing you reference to the ship in our country. But those ships come into this country since 1975 and to present. It has nothing to do with the Venezuelan issue. Do your research properly. I was one of those who do training with those ships. You don't have to be a Coast Guard to train with those Marines, British, rather American. It's just a normal form of training. Have nothing to do with Venezuela. Go back from 1976 to present, we always have visits from different ships. HMS Starter, this, that, you name it. Have a blessed day.
Thank you, caller. Yeah, I'm not sure if I wasn't clear, because I did point to the fact that this was something that was in the works. Maybe I didn't say that part outright, because it's true. No, actually, no, I did say it. I did say this is not the first time we've had a situation, well, I did it from a different angle, because in Taiwan, U.S. ships, it's a situation with heightened tensions. U.S. ships go to visit, China complains, why are you there? U.S. says, because we want to, so what? We're here, right? So, technically speaking, this is not even, my example went up to yours. What I'm saying is, even in a time of heightened tension, you can't have routine visits, right? And I didn't say this then, but I will say this now. The flip side to that is, this isn't Taiwan. We've had ports of calls from foreign military vessels before, but not during times of heightened tensions. And at the end of the day, let me be fair, because I kind of criticize the government along lines like this. You should know what signals you're sending. Even if it's something that is within the realm of peacetime activity, during certain context periods, like the context of heightened tensions, the message being sent can be interpreted differently, even if you don't intend to send a different message, right? And again, I understand what you're saying. Oh, the training might be nothing special. Forgive me. Given that there are heightened tensions, I expect that even if it's routine training, the weight that intelligence officers are going to put on everything said in all the debriefings is going to be a little bit more pertinent than ever before. That's just normal procedure from what I understand, because they are technically actively shooting at things right now. So that entire ARG and destroyer group and the cruiser and all of the other assets that are there, combined with the rhetoric, but the fact that already some of the people involved in the naval presence in the region have fired shots. This is not business as usual, right? But the Gravely being at the port could be that. I think the truth is, it is business as usual plus something more. Not that it's either a mundane thing or something with greater, deeper meaning. I think it's a little bit of both, to be honest. Now, with that said, the caller mentioned something which basically I believe it to be in the realm of doxing. And then this goes a step further, because you know how some people are. Well, I didn't shoot nobody, I didn't shoot nobody. Yeah, but if you know, Digicel has a joke when he was attacked on stage, right? I think it was about last year. This is after the Chris Rock got slapped situation. So comedians are a little bit more on edge on stage, right? And a guy came up on the stage or whatever shows in LA and had to be wrestled down by security. Allegedly, he had a gun. It wasn't actually a gun. When they checked it out, it was a knife. So luckily for the assailant, the armed security didn't see gun and just shoot him, right? But the point is, you could imagine, there's a reason why you don't do these things. An elected politician, minister of security, an American official, you want us to, it was a toy gun, I didn't mean anything, but the police aren't going to necessarily respond that way. Or if you do something like dox 8, this is where so-and-so is, and this is where so-and-so, yes, you're now potentially telling anyone that has ill intentions to these people, look them there, go do whatever you want to do to them, right? And shield yourself saying, I didn't do nothing.
Right. And it's speaking in relation to the location that was
locations
transmitted.
being revealed.
Well, well, that could amount to treason.
If it goes the full gamut.
It can be investigated. I'm not too certain if there is an investigation, but we would entertain the investigation if the information is found to be legit. There's nothing stopping from anybody going on Google or Google Maps and finding a location, a precise location on their own. So I don't know what is the veracity of me sending.
I think it can be dependent on interpretation on how public is the information, right? And then, you know, if the message of the person spreading it, if that impacted the situation in any meaningful way.
Right, so there would be an initial investigation to determine if there's any veracity to the claim, if it does amount to treason, if it does amount to mischief, if it's false information. Again, we don't know if anybody is just presenting this misinformation to the members of the public.
Because if you present false information that leads to some innocent third party getting attacked, you could be on the hook for that as well.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the kind of thing, there was a time when streamers swatted each other, and eventually the authorities had to figure out, hey, the people calling in these SWAT teams, they're the ones that need to face some consequences, otherwise somebody's going to get shot. We have, I think, Move on the line. Caller, good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
Good day.
You know what, I'm getting an echo, but Nonetheless, you know, Sean, I have been hearing so many within recent times, so-called experts, everybody giving their opinion. And you know how we Trinidadians like our 50 minutes of fame on social media, you know? And I looked at 60 Minutes last night on CBS. And I would hope a lot of Trinidadians could, but I don't know if they could go back and try to get it, who have cable and they could find a way to go back and, you know, and look. But 60 Minutes last night was so interesting, right? And revealed a lot about a lot of Trinidadians don't seem to know, but they have an opinion and they run them up. That's why I like to sit back and observe things. You know, and 60 Minutes to me last night explained so many things that the average Trinidadian don't have an idea what they're speaking about down here. And, you know, social media, so everything is being fueled. You know, as one note, and another note, Mr. Arun, I want to ask you a question. We are in a state of emergency, right? There are clear laws, road traffic laws, dealing with noise from vehicles.
Yeah, correct.
So, and let me repeat, we are in a state of emergency.
Yeah, without not.
If at 3 a.m. in the morning, 3 a.m., there's a vehicle parked up on the road with the doors open, jamming music loud, it's 3 a.m., you call the police, and the police show up, which is good, and they speak to the gentleman, and then they drive off. Before they even come out of vision, the music starts back. Is that policing, sir? Shouldn't they have been able to charge these people and send them on their way as a matter of fact? It's 3 a.m. in the morning. And every time I call a program, especially that program on evening, and I keep telling them, I say, it's all well and good. There are a lot of excuses out there about the bars and the thing and the this and the bar lights and all, and we go around in circles. But as far as noise from cars, the law is clear.
Yeah.
And I keep saying, and people, I keep saying, I say, somehow the police think we are stupid. The police have not to date shown any real interest in dealing with the noise from cars. Let's forget the bars and it. But you all need to start showing that you all are serious, at least about the cars. The cars are there every day, up and down our roadways. You don't have to investigate. You don't have to do surveillance. They are there.
Yeah.
And you all are going to start doing your job, especially now we're at the state of emergency. And my last point, Sean, is, you know why all of us, a lot of people speaking about America this, America that, America that. You know, some of the voices that are so against America right now, and I'm not saying I'm for America, but sometimes I tell you, I observe things and I smile.
Yeah.
You know, America is a sovereign country and and they're going on. But you know, a lot of those voices who speaking, they were very silent when Abu Bakr did what he did. As a matter of fact, there were people here who supported what Abu Bakr did. Even a religious leader who supported him. And then you hear people now attacking America so much, and I just smile sometimes. We are so deceitful. You know, we don't know what we're really about. I rest my case. Have a good day.
Thank you, Paul. Yeah, people say Venezuela is a legitimate government. All right. The problem is that last election, there's literally nothing to back up the claims that Maduro won. Not saying that he lost. There's no evidence that he lost because there's no evidence of the results. So regardless of who won or lost, was that last election legitimate? And then that pokes a hole in the sovereignty argument one time, right? My thing is not that Venezuela is not a sovereign nation. My thing is when people want to say, well, let Venezuelans sort it out for themselves. There's a reason why the Iraqis cheered the Americans initially, right? Yes, it went downhill pretty much as soon as Saddam was taken care of. But there's a reason why. Go back and watch the tape. They're cheering in the streets and waving the flags, and when a tank comes and pull down the statue, oh, the whole town up in cheers. Why? Because they did not have the ability to extricate themselves from a dictator who basically built up, at least at one point in time, the fifth largest army in the world, to ensure that the peasantry didn't revolt against him. We're living in a more normal democracy, so we might not fully appreciate what it means. We already think that whenever the other party, whoever the other party is in power, they hijack the government and things are so bad. Now imagine if it was done take the coup, add a lot more people with a lot more guns and a lot less resistance to whatever agenda that they have. And that's maybe what you're going to get. It's a whole different ballgame. So,
yeah, the caller spoke about
the noise pollution.
The noise pollution, and rest assured, there are tickets being issued to persons who drive vehicles who play loud music. That is happening. In the past month or two, we have actually ramped up some exercises. I'm not at liberty to speak about the exercises themselves because I haven't been given permission. But nonetheless, I am part of a team that meets every day, and we do look at the exercises that are conducted, and we seem to be doing pretty well in terms of confiscation of firearms, illegal drugs, issuing of tickets, and searching persons' homes and the persons and their vehicles. And the stats does seem very promising. It does show that the police are working. I'm not too sure why it hasn't been made public as yet, but nonetheless, it is that the police are functioning well, and there are tickets being issued for those noise-related issues.
And the caller might not agree with this because to him it seems like it's all the time.
Right. Yes.
But
so in his case. Yeah.
But the thing is, on a national level,
at 3 a.m., the police respond. Mm-hmm. You're supposed to get a ticket and be sent on your way.
Right.
That music's supposed to be cut off.
So,
but there's nothing in law that allows the police to arrest.
You can ticket, but not arrest.
You can ticket, but you can't arrest.
Right.
Unless he assaults, obstructs, or whatnot.
And listen, I won't put it past some Chinese. They'll get a ticket and then they'll wait.
And
just like what
they
did. They'll wait and so potentially the caller, the individual could have gotten a ticket.
Yeah, he just may not have known.
The caller just wouldn't have known that they're going to be that belligerent.
Yeah, or maybe the officers try to use some discretion and pleaded with them to take down the music.
You see, I think, and I understand that, right? Because when you don't show discretion, there will be a situation where the public will be in uproar.
Yeah,
like
we're trying to minimize the perception. Yeah.
But and I guess this is a case where it really becomes important when a police kind of gets a feel for the beat.
Yeah.
So if it's in Mova's case now, right? If they know that this is the situation here might be worse than elsewhere,
and it persists.
Maybe don't give warnings initially, right?
Correct.
But last time before we have the caller from Assembly, I'll just say this. This is one of my bugbears with a lot of public institutions. Why don't you talk about what you're doing? You don't have to give away sources and methods and tactics and things like that. But you can still talk about, hey, this is what we intend to do. This is, and especially when this is what's working to fix the problem. Yeah, you don't want to reveal it so that it becomes an ineffective strategy. But the flip side is you're going to be blamed for things that...
I will seek the permission, but it's amazing the amount of work the divisions are getting done.
Right.
Yeah, it's amazing, and they're out there pumping.
Hopefully, mid-rate stays down so this can continue, because I think that's a correlation I'm willing to assume. We have Claxon Mini line that's been waiting. Good morning, caller. You on the air? Caller, go ahead. Mute your TV.
Hi, good morning, Sean.
Morning.
Sean, on to the officer there. You know, I can't see how it could be right in any form and fashion for anybody to go in anybody's house to tell them how to run the house. I can't see that, right? And America, throughout the history, throughout the world, they tell you America they kill more people than any other nation. That any other nation kill, right? I can't see how people could glorify with people getting blown up on the ocean without justification, and people glorifying that. You understand? How could you glorify some people killing people? You understand? We living in a space here. When you look at places like Gaza, Hamas, things that happened just recently with Israel and things, which is bigger, 100 times larger than Trinidad. And over 200 and something people dead, men, women, and children. What is going to happen if something should really happen here? People really thinking, I think Sean and the officer only need to edify people that war is not no joyous thing, especially when you are so close by to a situation like that. And for the Prime Minister saying that she don't know, I watching on so many occasions that Donald Trump is saying that is about regime change, and she's still saying that she don't know. How could we have a Prime Minister saying that? You understand? How you even coming out and talk to the population and telling them the truth? It's a constant lie right through. We need to get truth, and that is the problem that we have. The problem that we have in this country is that people lie to people too much. It's too much a lie and propaganda. That is how we end up in this situation. And we need to bring truth. If we bring truth to people, people is able to identify and say, well, yes, this is the truth. We have to change that, Sean. We have to change this narrative. That's if we happen to get out of this situation. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. I don't think anyone is glorifying war. I think part of the problem is once you get to a certain level of analysis. Look, this is going to sound really bad, but I'll be quite blunt. What we view war now is an insignificant statistic to what war was. What we view war now at times, because right now what America is doing is not waging war. That's not what war is. If that has you all, I mean, loss of life is bad, but I'm trying to be proportional. I'm saying it's a law enforcement situation gone wrong, loss of life, bad. But to call it a war and to compare it on the level of an armed conflict on that scale, we ain't there yet.
I think
we don't want to be there. I could agree with that. But then also, look, this won't be the first time bad things was done in the name of international interaction between sovereign countries. And at some point, if you want to think, oh, well, who are the good guys in this situation? 90% of the time, there are no good guys. Because what's happening with this debate, let's be real now. Every side has a finger to point at the side that they disagree with. There's no universality that this side is right and that side is wrong. People who want regime change could say, well, Maduro is a dictator and his government is illegitimate. People that don't want regime change could say what Trump is doing is potentially illegal based on his domestic laws. It depends on what applies. And it's an act of aggression, regardless of the justification. It's not enough. So there's no good guy really right now, right? And then, of course, with our Prime Minister, there is the, where are you? Please lead us, and not just have us kind of fluttering in the wind.
But Sean, there are two things. With that. TTPS isn't going to get dragged into the conversation on the war, but the one you call has been a point in terms of the 60 Minutes program.
Yes.
Go to YouTube. Some of your callers should go to YouTube, look up the 60 Minutes program. I think it was very recent.
I think, yeah, they have 2 videos on the channel.
It was really educational.
Yeah.
It really looked in depth into the situation right now. It's going to ease some of your fears and tensions. And the second thing is, I don't think, I hold no water for any party, but I don't think the Prime Minister or the government could speak on the actions of a foreign nation.
That's the other thing, yes.
So, I mean, to put them in a position where they have to speak and say, well, this is what they're going to do and what's going to happen, is very difficult.
Right. For those who want to hear from the Prime Minister to lead us, that's fine. To those that think the Prime Minister could tell Donald Trump, you need to go home. And that's one of the other things about this whole situation where I think people, part of it is don't panic, right? Why are you panicking? Because you have no control. But I hate to say this, a lot of bad things happen around the world that we can't control. This just happens to be closer to us than is the norm, right? So, and I get that. That makes a lot of people nervous. You have a right to be nervous because I could say what I think are the probabilities of what could happen. At the end of the day, even if my estimates are 100% accurate, it does not mean that worst case scenario will not happen. And there will be, in things like this, there will be a whole host of unforeseen consequences, right? That's just the nature of how conflict and situations at this scale, at this level of complexity and volatility work. Something's gonna happen that you ain't gonna anticipate. And it's gonna mess up your day.
Could you imagine you're part of this, you're on one of the sides, and you accidentally pull the trigger? You can imagine that.
Well, Americans technically already pull the trigger. But no, in this case, no, it would mean with some other action, not just with the boats, right? Correct. I think one of the things that's telling, and I'll say this again, I don't know to what extent Venezuela is very subtly dancing around, are they Venezuelan boats? Is America attacking Venezuela when they attack the boats? Are they claiming sovereignty of the boats? I don't think they are. I think they are very, they're saying things that imply America is doing the wrong thing, but to say directly they're admitting, oh yeah, those are our boats. No, they're not doing that because they know. They're playing the game too. You could argue at times they're playing the game better than the American president, but usually the public they don't buy what the American authorities are trying to sell. They'll buy what the opponent to the American authorities is trying to sell. That's why foreign powers tend to play better in the press in America. Similar to here, I think a lot of people say, hey, you see what CARICOM says? Why are we acting so and so? What do you want the Prime Minister to do? Because I think part of it is now, for our laws, we have the TTPS. For our sovereignty, in theory, we have the Defense Force. In practicality, you could roll that dice. But if we want a zone of peace, okay, that's nice. Do something about it. Stop talking. I fed up people say, we once again agree. What are we, a board? Well, we're one of the most ineffective boards I've ever seen. Do something about it, right? We haven't even heard of CARICOM sending a strongly worded letter to the United States. So at this point, I kind of even wonder, are they serious about it? Has CARICOM sent strongly worded letters to protest the American action to the international community? I know that we've spoken about it, but like, what have we done? And more importantly, what's the point of saying that we will enforce a zone of peace when we can't actually enforce it?
It's not one-sided, Sean. I mean, they can't just write to one party. There's two parties involved here. Two parties should take blame.
I know, but right now, the one that has the initiative is the Americans. So if you want to be upset at the Americans for the specific military potential clash, that's fine, right? You're not necessarily going to write Venezuela about it.
No, but what about the freedom of some persons in Venezuela? What about the people being pressed in Venezuela? What about the people being...
You see, that's an ethical question that's inconvenient.
No, why CARICOM can't write to
That's an ethical question that's inconvenient to some people. Because if it's not happening to our people, it's fine. Their sovereign government is oppressing them. Somehow, because it's legal, it's equated to be moral.
What about Cuba? What about Haiti? What about...
No. It's always the Americans' fault. It's never, no one else ever had a hand in what's going on. Right? So, listen, there are times when America should take more blame. But let's not forget, there are examples of regime change succeeding. And again, that's not an argument for regime change. That's an argument that America is not always the boogeyman that caused all of the ills. Move over back on the line. This should be the last call, I think. Caller?
Good morning again.
Yes, again.
Officer Arun.
Yeah, good day.
Officer Arun, I want to make something quite clear to you and Sean. When I speak from years of observation and from doing my own little investigation. So when you are telling me that you all are given tickets to cars for noise. I want to explain something here that I tried to explain, or I should say I explained it to another officer on another program in the evening.
Yeah.
I said to him, and I'm going to say to you again, I have read in the papers and I have heard on television, it is said, I don't know who did the survey, but it is said that we have at least 500,000 cars on our roadways. Okay?
Right.
A conservative estimate of what percentage of those cars are the noise-making cars. I would say at least 70 to 75,000 cars on our roadways are noise cars. And I'm saying that I live on a main road, and I am always around town and whatnot and whatnot. Okay? So I am giving an estimate. Let's say, even if we say 50,000 cars on the roadways are noisemakers. Okay? The police can't come and tell me that in any given year they give 300 tickets to cars for noise. That is insulting. Okay? Understand what I'm saying?
The
so
noise you're talking about. The noise you're talking about. Is it?
Hello?
Yeah, the noise you're talking about. Is it from the muffler, or is it from the radio?
Mr. Arun, what do you think?
No, because okay, so I used to work. I used to work in St. Barb's, right? And I used to work in St. Barb's, and I used to work elsewhere in Trinidad.
Right.
And for some reason in St. Barb's, all the cars, the PH cars, had this issue with the muffler. And they had this loud muffler sound that would emanate from the car, but it only used to happen in St. Barb's. I never experienced this anywhere else where I worked in Trinidad. So, like in Shogwana, so in Caroni, or so I just wondering if it's...
Mr. Arun.
Yeah.
No, Mr. Arun. Let me repeat to you. I live on a...
Okay, say a little more.
And I'm always around right? More about a main road, right? And I'm saying to you that these cars, up to yesterday, one pass, and the lyrics with the F word.
Yeah. Okay, so
right? On a Sunday, driving down the road is normal. I'm speaking about the music, but the speaker's facing out the rear window.
Yeah.
This is what I'm speaking about. Come on. I mean, this is what I'm speaking about. You understand? And I'm saying to you, the Burgess, I'm an old man. I know about the Zephyrs on the road with the Burgess and the muffler and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I'm well aware of that. Okay?
Yeah, I can take that noise.
As you know, I'm talking about from music, loud music. That's what we're speaking about. Right? Not the muffler. So, you know, it's a muffler situation, but it's not that bad. You know, my last point, Sean, is I cringe when I hear you just said that our Prime Minister can't come out and tell us what America is doing, what is America's plan, and I'm in the opposition. You know, the Prime Minister needs to tell us what is going on. What does that mean? How can the Prime Minister tell the nation what America is going to do? It's such a foolish thing. And my last point, I cringe when I hear the PNM talking about, and you might find this abstract, Sean, and real. You might find this abstract. I cringe when I hear them talking about the zone of peace. Under the PNM, and it still exists now, people can't sleep at night in their home. So what does the PNM know about any peace?
Yeah.
I rest my case.
Thank you, brother. Well, I hate to say this, but that is a CARICOM thing where they're like, no, zone of peace doesn't mean free from gun violence. No, we're a zone of peace. We peacefully watch as we kill each other. But heavens forbid someone comes and the potential of them killing us, not the certainty, the potential of them having a misfire and getting 1 or 2 accidental deaths seemingly is more severe than the amount of gun violence that has been record-setting in the region, across the region, right?
Apparently it doesn't affect the other parts of the region.
No, but they are seeing record gun violence in their countries too. Remember, crime is a public health nuisance, and we had a whole symposium, right? I think Barbados and a lot of the other countries going up that East Antilles there. Yeah. It wasn't 600, but for them, it was levels of violence that they're just not accustomed to seeing, right?
So where's the zone of peace? I understand what you're saying.
Now, the thing is, here's the thing. The Prime Minister might have some information about what the Americans' intentions are or what they're doing. She's not guaranteed to have it, and that's where I'll agree with you. She could have it, she might have it, they may speak to her, they may not, right? She has no way to demand such information, and she has no actual right. Look, they could do what they want to do. They don't technically need us. Trinidad and Tobago geographically will make it easier because we have a port, we have an airport. That means they could send supplies here right next door. It's not needed, right? It all depends on what they want to accomplish, how much force they want to commit, how much logistical support that needs, and how much physical infrastructure they need to carry that out.
And they haven't said what they're going to do neither.
They haven't said it. They haven't deployed
they
anything
haven't said,
more
well,
than what they
we
have.
are going to put boots on the ground. They haven't said.
So this is the funny part. They did say ground interdiction missions, but it was still in the context or the implied context of anti-narco-terrorism.
Right.
Right?
So it can be limited to the beach, it can be limited to the forest, it can be limited.
Right.
As very.
It could be an airstrike on Maduro. Right?
It can be limited to the borders of Guyana and Venezuela.
It could be, yeah, it could be drug. It could be drug factories in the bush. It could be smuggling points, right?
Which
we don't know what it means.
Interdicted already.
I think one of the things that people need to understand, Trump's agenda and Vance's agenda and the Secretary of State's agenda and Hegseth, the War Secretary's agenda, that's fine. That's the cabinet. That's the administration. Congress, depending on how far you have to go, will need to approve of certain steps being taken, of certain assets being deployed, right? And the Admiral may have retired prematurely because Trump was using the gray area, because Marines are in the gray area.
Right.
Deploying a Marine battalion, the American president could do. Deploying an invasion force, that's not something he could just say, yeah, let's just do that. No, now the Joint Chiefs of Staff is like, yeah, Congress, you'll need to okay this, right? And then it gets into a much wider thing. So the will of the American people and the will of the American administration is not always the same thing.
Right.
I mean, look at us. How many people agree with the past administration at the end?
Yeah.
And then we already have people that disagree with the current administration now. Yeah. So with regard to the noise pollution thing, I'll just say this. ASP Arun was putting forward a potential explanation to explain your experiences or to try to kind of explain away the disconnect between your experiences and what he has also witnessed on his end, right? Doesn't mean that we weren't necessarily saying this is what actually happened. We were saying this is what could have happened, right? So I understand your frustrations again, and it goes back to what you were saying. There's certain things you wish that you can reveal because then it could help assuage some of the concerns.
I'll seek permission to get that, and then I'll also get some information from the from CAPA concerning the amount of tickets issued to persons with noisy vehicles.
But I'll just say this, as we're more or less out of time, legislative issues, noise pollution is one of them. That's my theory. I'm sticking with it until I see anything otherwise. Noise pollution, ganja, certain aspects of other crimes, more serious crimes, we have deficiencies. That's why we have a state of emergency. That's why state of emergency works. Doesn't seem like the police is doing anything extra special, right? Now, again, maybe I'm wrong, but that's based off of my observation. So we'll have to wait and see. It's one of those weird things where I don't want the state of emergency to continue, but my fingers are crossed that it does continue because the practical short-term benefits.
You've seen some benefits,
right? So it is what it is. And hopefully we could maintain the momentum. But hey, after the last one, seemingly mid-rate, then go back up automatically. So who knows, right? Who knows? Maybe, ironically, similar to how we benefited from the war in Ukraine when all of the energy prices went up, the drug supply being, tapped out might mean that the drug money in the country might drop. And if that's the case, that could help us in the long run. Who knows? All right, I want to thank the callers for calling. I understand it's a heightened emotional situation. I more or less, I get where everybody's coming from. But as the TGPS is saying, try not to panic. And let's not get overly emotional with each other, particularly over things that we can't control, right? I want to remind everybody to have a good day, stay safe, remember your allegiance to the Republic and to each other, and staying safe also includes don't do anything stupid and questionable, right? Don't be doxing, oh look, it's a love nest of some minister. Don't do that. You might think, oh, we get it out. It's a state of emergency right now, where politicians have reportedly been under threat. Don't take no chances. Don't say it was just a prank. Don't say I didn't pull no trigger, right? You gotta understand time and place. Now is definitely not the time to add extra stress to anybody's life. Thanks ASP Arun for joining me once again. Folks, talking about the WSN. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
WESN.
Low energy? Heart concerns? Migraines slowing you down? It's